Thank you so much, Vun. All right, folks. Okay, before we start, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling okay, feeling energized. Okay, 10 out of 10. Okay lah, adalah. Ha? Okay. Give me 50-50 if you're 50-50. Oh, ada cakap 50-50. All right, cool. We'll do this for maybe until 1 o'clock, and then we go for lunch. The session is a bit different, a bit unique. I've been told by the panelists, the language, we are going to campur sikit. Campur. Rojak. If that's okay with the audience, if that's okay, we will rojak. We will speak Malay, English and Mandarin. No, Mandarin. Unless someone can speak Mandarin. Malay and English, we will rojak sikit. And the format is, after 40 minutes, we'll open for question and answer. There are actually microphones on the floor, so you can ask questions after 40 minutes, so last 20 minutes. And the topic is very panas. It's very panas. Good governance, public policy and transparency, crucial ingredients for development. And we have a very amazing set of panel. The moderator, the MC mentioned. We have amazing panelists for this session. And the format is very simple. I will invite the panelists to start with a 5-minute remark, or what we call mukaddimah, your 5-minute introduction, 5-minute angle to the topic, and then I will ask follow-up questions, and we will have a conversational style, just like the previous session with Datuk Wee Chuan Beng. So without further ado, let me start with my left, YB Tuan Haji Razman bin Zakaria. To YB, kalau YB nak start dengan kita sesi, dan kita akan tanya soalan. Okay, YB, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wal aqibatu lil muttaqin. Wal 'udwana illa 'alal zalimin. Wa nusalli wa nusallim ala hadzal nabiyil karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Thank you our moderator Mr. Zaim and all my colleagues. First of all, I will say thank you very much for inviting me for this very important occasion. That I don't know why I'm choosing as one of the party as a speaker, because maybe I am now the opposition leader. Maybe from this topic that the opposition, of course, we looked in the other side, So first. Last session that we see this Perak have a very great opportunity for the investor, for the investment and this thing. As long we know that we have near Port Kelang, near Pulau Pinang port, and we have our own port. And something that we have this inland port, like inland port, Ipoh inland port. Whereby, because I'm accustomed before, whereby that we know that the cargo we can release direct from the port, no need to through port, and then straight away to the ship. But the question that we have to answer together, that why actually in the FDI we compare to other states, like recently in last year, FDI compare Kedah and Perak is much more lower compared to Kedah. And also we see the development in Melaka and Negeri Sembilan, and they go beyond, and we are left. Why? Actually, we have land, we have a great infrastructure, but in terms of investment, in terms of FDI, we are left behind. Maybe from my perspective, is because of we have to look from the topic that gives to us, the good governance. And the people, because of the government, they have to play to protect the government interest, and also to develop the state. We need the private sector and join together, because to win-win situation. Whereby when I was in the state councillor, actually one part that why actually the permission kebenaran merancang. The permission to development permission, we take so long, about 2 years, And the investor come in and try to invest here. After about 2 years, the climate or business already changed, and they better go to other place. I think this is the topic they have to focus. How we want to expedite the development in Perak. Okay, this is the first round. Thank you.
Terima kasih YB. YB had a very interesting opening. Perak rich in resources, kaya, banyak infrastruktur yang sangat baik, tapi mungkin masalah governance. Mungkin masalah governance sebab FDI rendah. And I think that's a very interesting opening point. Pass to Dr. Jeyakumar Devaraj, Chairman of PSM and also former Sungai Sipu MP and a champion of Rakyat Marhaen and the everyday people. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you to the organizers for inviting me to this session. Okay, we don't have very much time, so I want to cut to the main points. In the last session, the speakers talked about we need more investment, we need more industries, we need more industrial estates. And that's fine. I think we need industries to create jobs for people. I believe in that. But the whole problem in Perak is that there's not much transparency. And I think good governance requires talking to the people and saying this is what we are trying to do and this is how we're going to do it. What we see is there's a lot of land grabs by the state government, by PKNP, where they just take over land that's been used by farmers since before World War II. A lot of farmers, vegetable farmers, who are farming on government land, who have applied for land before many times and not been given grants or TOL, but who are producing about 80% of the vegetable in our markets today. And these people are soft targets. Difficult to go after Sime Darby and take their land and use for it. But you go for these small farmers, you just take away their land. So for example, there's an area called Kantan near Chemo, where the PKNP has been assigned 3,000 acres of farmland, which the PKNP is part by part. I say assigned because if you go to the land office and look for the grant, you can't get the grant. But you hear that 3,000 acres has been given to PKNP. And I think this, they mentioned this Jing thing, I think it's coming up there. But the problem is when you come in like this, you don't tell what's going on, the farmers of course react. And we are now involved, the PSM, in about 5 court cases. We have got injunctions, we have stopped development. And the cases will drag on because, we're not sure what's going on. Farmers are being kicked out. No alternate land is being given. We're not sure how far it's going to go. So right now, there are about 5-6 cases in Perak where PSM is helping the farmers file court cases to stave off the Order 89. Sometimes they get injunction. So this is not, it's because there's no transparency, there's no discussion. And some of the cases, what we have found out is like this in Kantan, there's one area, 48 acres of land, has been sold by PKNP to KM Maju Bena, which is a developer company for housing. It was sold for about 5.8 million, which for 48 acres is about a third of the market price. Which makes us, when you find out things like this, you say, what is this going on? If PKNP is monetizing state land to make money to help the poor in Perak, we are fine. But if PKNP is selling land at 1/3 the market price to a private company, then we ask what the hell is going on. And in that process, you're displacing farmers. And we know that food production in Malaysia is a problem. We are importing about $55 billion worth of food per year. Half our food is imported. And we destroy food production. It's not only the farms, It's also the farmers are 3-generational farmers who know how to handle the land. There's a wealth of human experience there which we are destroying. If we give this land to someone else, new, give it to me, I can't handle it. Most of us can't handle it. These farmers are an asset to the country. So I think it's good to go for industrial development. We need that. But are we doing it the right way? is that transparency. And I think governance requires that. You must have a plan, you must open it up, you must discuss, and then see how it's being implemented. Otherwise, there's opacity there. If the Menteri Besar, who's the person giving out the land, Exco Tanah, is also the chairman of PKNP, and then he give out land to developers at half the price or one-third the price, what are you supposed to make of it? So this is the kind of problems that we are facing. If you want to have efficient industrial development, you've got to get the people on board. The farmers on board and the people helping the farmers on board, have a dialogue. Like to PKNP, we written to PKNP umpteen times asking for meetings. They don't meet us. So governance, transparency and all these things, very nice it sounds, must be implemented lah. Just talk about it for a conference, but don't act it out, then it's not really worth it. Okay, so I'll stop there.
Thank you. I want to just quickly follow up. You mentioned there's lack of transparency and good governance. You cited the case of PKMP selling land at one-third of a market rate to corporates. Why? I mean, why are the root causes? Why do you think this is happening?
I think here I'm just speculating. Now, as a politician, I know running a party is expensive. Staff, officers, election campaigns, surveys. Politicians need money. So that's how money is made. If you are in opposition like me, you got to just get from friends. If you are in government, then there are other ways of making money. And I suspect that's what's happening. I got no proof. But it's another case, where in Pusing, 104 acres of land was given to a Dato' Tiam from KL, free of charge, in 2017, August. And Tiam sold that land to other developers for 25 million, but given free. So you wonder what's the relationship? How come, what does Dato' Tiam do for the Perak government that he deserved 25 million award? So these are kind of things that go on in our land. It's too opaque because the power for land is state. In state, it means the Menteri Besar. And it's opaque. It's opaque. You don't know what's going on, why it's being done. And even EXCO members don't seem to know. Even EXCO members often do not know who the Menteri Besar is given to and why. So there's a need. If you want to have better governance, we need to have a check and balance mechanism within the land alienation process. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Thank you so much. I want to, before I go to Dr. Mohan, this is a very interesting topic. YB, comment. So, Dr. Jeyakumar, hypothesis dia lah. Duit, isu ni berlaku. Ini isu politik. Sebab politician and government are in basically dia bekerjasama dengan terlalu rapat lah. Mungkin ada
no, because actually this thing also raised up in the day one. I think I follow the thing because sometimes how we also don't know because actually this good governance that mean the process of making decision lah. They can make decision. Okay, this land want to give to whom? This land want to give to whom? Who apply the thing, want to give the thing. No. Sometimes it happened in our state that actually the land was occupied by someone, but actually when the title give to other people. So that when who we are going to blame? This has happened just now recently. Actually, last few days, if we see that in the Simpang Pulai there, orang asli, kampung orang asli, they have been there about 7 generations. About you see the place is 1921 actually, and then suddenly that land was awarded to someone, and then they chased them out. It happened now. Actually, this is what we call this. What we serious lah. Actually, this serious. That's why sometimes the people don't like to come or invest here to get the land or something. One thing I further about this. Actually, I asked the question last time, why actually Kedah, they can get foreign investor more compared to us. So they said because of Kedah, they have a Kulim high tech. Okay, we do agree that the Kulim high tech. But actually, if Kedah Kulim high tech, the far away that our state, they have much land. It's that one, the Proton City there. And then, so why? I mean, what I heard, the Kulim high tech, 40 ringgit per square feet can plug and play. Whereby here, actually in Perak, we can question, we can go further about this. This is why I think delay the development in Perak compare, even though that we have plenty of land.
Yeah, very interesting. Also very panas, huh? It's because we're talking about something yang we see this happening, but also the lack of transparency is the reason why we don't have the data. We don't know the players. We don't know the corporate interests. I think this is an issue I mentioned. Speaking of transparency, we have the president of Transparency International Malaysia, Dr. Mohan, a champion of transparency, always talking about this issue. I want to invite you to come in and join the conversation.
Thank you. Can hear. With your permission, Mr. Moderator, 1 minute I just take. This is the first time actually, I've spoken in a lot of places, but first time in Perak. Interestingly, actually I'm from Perak. My hometown is Teluk Intan. And my father used to be in Sungai Sipun. We came from the plantation industry, Dombi Estate. We were there. And so I grew up in the plantation industry. And I also worked if you look at my profile, I have been in the plantation industry all my life. So I'm from the private sector. So suddenly ending up in Transparency International as an NGO or a civil society, I never dreamed about it. It came by coincidence. Later I will tell you more, if we have time, how I actually ended up here. Okay? Anyway, today's topic is governance, public policy and transparency. I will just take the overall picture of where our country is. Now every year we publish the Corruption Perception Index. And the Prime Minister, during his budget speech, within the first 5-10 minutes, that was what he spoke about. He spoke about how Malaysia has deteriorated from the 90s until last year, 2022's result. Our score is 47, and in the global ranking we are 61. Now, if you really analyze it, why is it that it cannot go up? Or what we need to do to reverse the trend? And one of the problem in our country is there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about governance, a lot of talk about transparency, like what Dr. Jeyakumar has just mentioned. But where is the action? So this is what we hope. It is not only the government, even at the state level, at Perak state level, when you talk about good governance, it's actually the implementation, the execution. Now, I was just shocked to hear that a land parcel was just given to one Mr. Thiam, and for free, and it was sold at 25 million. Now, that's very, very serious. That means there is a complete abuse of power within the state. And you can be charged under the MACC Act for abuse of power under Section 23. So, this is where such kind of things. You see, the MACC cannot investigate if people don't complain or people don't file a complaint. And this is where, especially civil servants, penjawat awam. I'm very sure when this parcel was given, takkan penjawat awam tidak tahu. I'm sure you know about it. But why are you? Why are you not speaking up? So we all have a responsibility. Same in the private sector. I know a lot of you are from the private sector. There's a lot of corruption going on even in the private sector, and that is actually not mentioned. The Corruption Perception Index actually measures corruption in the public sector. But who are the givers? There are a lot of givers coming from the private sector. Of course, today we have a new provision in the MACC Act, Section 17, capital A, what we call corporate liability. So if any of your employees or associate or anybody were to be caught giving any form of gratification, then not only the individual can get charged, but also the company and its directors. But at the end of the day, to nip this problem in the bud, you really have to speak up. Okay? So, and also the other issue that I just want to highlight in my opening is, to give you a very good example, which all of you know, is the littoral combat ship scandal. You all know, right? 9 billion project, 6 billion paid, not a single ship has come. The point here is not about punishing people. Yeah, it's happened, and maybe whoever the culprit is, he has to be punished. MACC will do their job. That's not the point. I think for the government to fix this problem, because we hear every day, every week, the Prime Minister talks about tata kelola yang baik, good governance, ketelusan, transparency, integrity, democratic accountability. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be action. Now, what I would say is, we want to know this 6 billion so far been paid without any delivery, and why the project had actually exceeded its time limit. Where were the civil servants? Where were you? Why you didn't raise the red flags? How come nobody knew about it? And if no action is taken, because we are talking about this topic and what, like Dr. Jeyakumar says, that it will happen again and again, I can guarantee you another scandal 2 years down the road will happen if there is no learning. All right? So I will leave the rest of the discussion later on. But what I would say is, there must be commitment from everywhere. It's not only at the federal level, even at the state level. That narrative has to be repeated again and again, and action should be seen on the ground. Okay, with that I will stop and let me hand over to you.
Dr. Mohan, before we go to Kamala, I also want to maybe probe further. We talk about federal, state, but local government also. Some people say the local government, usually corruption also is probably worse than the state government and the federal government. My question is actually more on two your perspective on this. Corruption, is this systemic or is it cultural? Is it the issue that the system is rotten from the top to the bottom? Nak buat business pun kena bayar. Or is it more cultural? Is our people maybe mungkin dah biasa, ini budaya kita. Ini bukan pasal isu sistem. Ini isu budaya Malaysia yang korup. Is it systemic or cultural or both? What is your take on this?
Okay. When you ask me this question, immediate reflex of my childhood days. Okay? 70s. I was born in 60s. Okay? 70s, 80s. Even just now, sitting down, just thinking about it. I would say it's both. Okay? I would say it's both. It is systemic, and slowly it's becoming a culture. Because in the early days, when I still reflect back when I was a kid, we had good value systems. I'm not pointing finger to parents in particular, but I think you have partly responsible for this. Good value system that was taught to our children before. Today, I think maybe because parents are very busy with work and so on, I see that. So you cannot rely on the institutions of higher learning or the universities to do that for you. The foundation, the ethical values must come from home. Integrity, ethics must start at home. From there you take it up. But unfortunately, because over the years, when things were loose and patronage and so on, this has become systemic. I just give you one example before I stop. When I was working in the private sector, people leave, people come, and so on. And there was this vacancy available. And I knew one guy who was looking for a job and so on. So I said, okay, there's a vacancy here. Please apply this thing. So I'm the one who actually prompted him to come. Of course, the interview process, I abstained because I know him. So another group of people interviewed him, hired him. He joined the company. After about a few years, 3-4 years, he was not working with me. He was working in another department. I heard one day he was under DI, domestic inquiry. For what? I said, why this guy? Because I was quite upset. Why is the company taking action against him? Oh, there was a corruption case suspicion and we have got some evidence and so on. So I was very upset and because this guy, I'm the one who brought him in. So one day, unofficially, I said, can I see you? So I went to see him. I asked him, did you really do it or not? This is very serious. No, I brought you in. He first denied. And then after talking to him, at the end, he said, yes, sir, I took. Why? He said, my boss take 10,000, I take only 1,000. What's wrong? You see? So this is the problem. So that is why I think it started from there. Begitu juga even dekat higher level government machinery and all that. Because when the top is doing it, I also can do it. What? If he can take 10 million, I take only 1 million. What's the problem? Okay, thank you.
Very interesting, huh? I'll just quick poll, huh? Setuju with Dr. Mohan's view in terms of, maybe just do poll. Sorry, I moderator gila sikit. If you think corruption is more systemic, raise your hand. Isu is system. Ni isu system. Ni bukan isu budaya, isu agama. Okay, one guy. Is this more cultural? Is this more us? Okay, more cultural than more systemic. The rest tak kisahlah. The rest tak makan lunch. Okay, thank you. Very interesting points, very interesting discussion. I want to go to our Miss Kamala, chairperson of Perak Bar Committee, to come in and maybe give your voice. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Encik Zai Mozani. I would like to say to be addressed as chairperson rather than chairwoman or chairman. Let's drop the gender differential. Okay, good afternoon to everybody. I'm so glad to be here and I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to address you on this very wide topic. Now, good governance, public policy and transparency. Looking at that one line, what does it bring to mind? Governance refers to government of the day. Okay. Please excuse me or as I refer to my notes from time to time. By virtue of my training in the profession, we always come prepared with a few reading materials as a point of reference. So if I can explain what is good governance in a few words, good governance actually refers to a good public administration. What is good public administration? There are several factors. If I can read a few of them. It is concerned with substance rather than form. It is concerned with speed of decision. It requires a proper consideration of public interest, not private, public interest. It requires a proper consideration of the legitimate interests of individual citizens. Last but not the least, it requires decisiveness and finality unless there are compelling reasons to the contrary. Now, we talk so much about governance. Oh, we should have a good government. We have to be transparent. We have to do things across the board, open it up. But how often are members of the public given access to anything that's being done by the government of the day? I am looking at it from purely the perspective of the legal fraternity because that's whom I represent. The other eminent speakers here are, of course, dealing with other aspects of the topic. I choose to, and I believe that I will be able to contribute more on the legal perspective. You know, as lawyers, we have to deal with government departments, whether it's in terms of civil litigation, whether it's in terms of conveyancing. I know the conveyancers among us here, if they're members of the profession or connected with the radar and all that, there are so many numerous decisions involving developers, involving private citizens that we constantly have to deal with government departments. And we are always constantly, we seem to be knocking our heads at the door, but unfortunately the door is only partially open to us. Why? We are such important stakeholders. Why are we not brought into the picture? Every time a new term of the Perak Bar Committee comes, we reach out. We reach out to all the government departments. We say, please, Let us engage with you. Let us make known what are our complaints that have been raised by our members. But we always, despite us being in the legal profession, we are highly regulated compared to engineers and compared to members of the medical profession. Every step of a lawyer's duty, exercise of his client's duty towards his client, towards a member of the public, everything is deeply regulated by the Bar Council. Every step that we take in our working life, we are bound by certain limits and this one. So, we are here to champion the interests of our client, whether it's a private client, private individual, whether it's an institution, whether it's a company. But we find it so difficult, and even more so during the 2 years when the pandemic stepped in. How many of us dealing with conveyancing work were at loggerheads with the relevant state authority, land authority, simply because we couldn't have access to the government departments to do land dealings. We could not communicate properly with them. Finally, it all came to a head when some members of the public took it to the press. Is it necessary? The government was brought into not so good repute. All this could have been avoided if the government engaged with us as stakeholders from the very beginning. We are not against any policy, but before implementing a policy, it would be good if the relevant government department engages with us. Why not? We are the voice. We are the voice for the private institution. We are the voice for members of the public. Give us an avenue to air our issues. Let you know in advance that if you implement this particular policy, you are going to face these difficulties, so that you can get it back to the working table, try to revamp it or try to adjust it so that it meets the needs and the requirements of the members of the public. Mind you, conveyancing work contributes a lot to government revenue. Every year, if I'm not mistaken, Pengarah of PTG actually presents a paper, I've been told, to the ruler to inform him that so much has been collected in terms of revenue from conveyancing work, presentation of land dealings and all. We are such an important stakeholder, but unfortunately we are left behind when it comes to terms of policy making, implementation, and then when they start getting the process into work, then they overcome so many hurdles, and then we have to rush to them, and then they'll say, no, we have to take these issues and bring it to our board of directors, but they only meet once a month or twice a month. So until then, what's happening to the interests of our client? They think we are not doing the job. They say, we have paid you, go and deal with the government department, do what is necessary. Inverted commas. So it comes back again to good governance. It will be also good if the government of the day, the relevant government agencies, are given turnaround times, so that members of the public and we as well who are dealing, we know that when we put in an application for subdivision, we put in an application for MB's consent, we will expect a reply within 2 weeks? 3 weeks? At least it gives us, sometimes it takes 2 weeks. I think currently it's taking more than a month. How do you explain to one client, oh, your MB consent application is very fast, 2 weeks I can get it out. Another client is there, you're saying, well, this is the 6th week, but hold on, they still have not made a decision. So there is no consistency. There is no level playing field. So I am bringing the perspective of the Perak Bar in particular in voicing out the obstacles and the hindrances that we face along the way. It's not that we are against the policy, not at all. But we want to be engaged so that we can effectively work together with the government of the day, so that all these policies and all are rolled out in a timely manner and meet the expectations of our clients. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Kamala. Very passionate, very apt points. I want to ask you a simple question. You mentioned that the state government, or maybe government in general, could be also local authorities, does not engage civil society, including the Bar Council, Perak Bar Council. Why? Why do you think they're not doing this?
I don't know. Maybe they think lawyers are troublesome. I don't know. Troublemakers. I really have no idea. But we have always been forthcoming. We have always offered our hand and said, look, we are here to work with you, not against you. But on the other hand, if there is some form of irregularity, misfeasance, something that is not right, then that's where public interest litigation comes into play. It's not necessary. I think the first and foremost case on public interest litigation, correct me if I'm wrong, there are two senior members of the bar here. The first public interest litigation was brought by a member of Perak Bar against the state government. That was the first case that was filed in Malaysia, Mr. Lim Chow Hock against the government of the day, Perak government, as well as the president of the municipal council. He brought a case saying that the Menteri Besar should not also wear the cap as president of the municipal council. He was not successful. But that case paved the way for litigants who have suffered some form of, who are aggrieved by a public decision or felt that some decision making by a government department was not right. That paved the way for the courts and for the lawyers to take an active approach and to ensure that whatever irregularities or misfeasance in public office can be challenged in a court of law. I think, but inevitably court cases take time. I mean, I'm following up from Dr. Jeyakumar. You see, the fact that the Perak state government has now been brought to the courts, this is not an easy matter. It's going to take time. The court is not going to be there. Anybody who's unsuccessful, who's aggrieved by a decision, is going to take it on appeal. Meanwhile, the project is at a standstill. People are suffering. Where does this lead us? If everything could have been on board, everything is transparent, then wouldn't Perak be moving at a much faster rate? Points or something, food for thought. Thank you.
Very interesting points. I think of co-creation when you talk about this, co-creating between state government and civil society when it comes to policy. Sometimes maybe the government may not understand that we're not against policy makers, we're just against the policy. Ini bukan isu personal, ini isu dasar. And sometimes people take it wrongly. It's like, oh, you're against me? No, I'm against the policy, not against you. Sometimes when we speak out against policy, kita serang secara peribadi. No, kita serang secara prinsip, bukan secara peribadi. We don't hate the politician, we hate the politics of it. Speaking of that, I want to go to balik ke Razman. And this one, because issue ni complex, very complex, and also the peranan stakeholder dalam masyarakat, termasuk parti politik. Nak masuk sikit, tapi kalau boleh, peranan parti politik dalam mempromosikan budaya, tata kelola, transparansi, moral, etika. Apa pandangan YB? How? Parti politics. Sebab a lot issues kat sini banyak balik kepada state government. State government biasanya dibentuk oleh parti politik. So pandangan YB mengenai peranan parti politik dalam mempromosikan budaya yang sihat, yang mengangkat tata kelola dan transparansi. Apa peranan YB? Peranan parti politik kalau boleh Perikatan Nasional juga pas lah. Nak dengar juga. Kalau boleh YB boleh share sikit.
Okay, actually kalau kita we see the scenario it happen, actually they are promoting the good governance and the fair and everybody. But actually if we look now, we analyze in Malaysia, actually there is a procedural and everything is almost perfect. In whatever public policy, in whatever transparency, even though we have our institution just to take care about this. But the answer is the question, like you say before, this is a corruption become a budaya or part of the thing. Actually, this is the issue now. I think the main issue is that. The main issue is that because now we see that the thing is even though that we have the complete procedure, we have but still certain selective action that is something like promoting the thing. One thing actually, I'm frankly speaking, if we ask all the private sector, is it corruption is it expedite the development or corruption is we delay development? You answer sincerely actually. It has happened actually for those who are very strict, they go to the procedure, it is very hard to deal with these people. Actually, who promote the thing? That's why actually, if we want to get rid of this bad attitude or what, we have to revamp actually everywhere. Much clearly. Not like say, okay, we see like in the government policy actually, if we open, okay, we have land, a piece of land here, about how many acres. Okay, we open to the public policy. Who going to public tender or what? No, it's reality suddenly give the other person. This is happen actually, even that right. But from us, the politics, what we say, the party politics, you also can evaluate the things, you know. When you come in power, you not implement whatever you said. I also not there to say that, okay, well, if we take place, we get rid of this kind of thing. Because, like, it can be like system already. Like a system, really. But one thing also budaya, okay, you help me, I help you. Sometimes this officer doesn't ask anything. But actually, after they approve, they go and give something. If not, why not I do something? We are creating the thing. But actually, we cannot give up the thing. We cannot give up the thing. Almost from the Muslim perspective, actually, this integrity is the most important in the decision making. When you hold the place, the post. When the higher post you hold, and then the open thing. And then if the practice is from the top, that means the bottom will go down. I think it's our responsibility together. Must revamp everywhere. But now, if we surprise, one survey have made in the university. If you get the opportunity to people corrupt you, you accept or not? 80% accept. You just imagine what going in the future our country. People still in the university, undergraduate, survey that. Ask them. Okay. If you give the opportunity to hold the post and people offer you a bribe, are you going to take? Yes, 80%. That means 100 people, 80 students, and they going to hold the post. This will look our future. That means we have to play a role. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. YB, important point. That survey 8 out of 10 will young people will accept. Actually, this is true. I remember UKM Pemandu Institute Integrity. They did a survey, different survey lah, and they said to young people, university student, if you are given the chance to take bribery, yes or no? And actually time tu majority lah, bukan 50, macam 40% lah. Okay, ambil. Ini not even kerja, ni masih kat university. So it's very scary. I want to jump to Dr. Mohan, and I want to open the floor for Q&A. Your thoughts on this? Back to what YB mentioned, because we're talking about crucial ingredients for development. But if people themselves are, culturally, is acceptable or maybe arguable, how then do we proceed as a country to fight corruption if orang kita sendiri rasa, especially orang muda kata, boleh lah, RM50 je. What do you think on this?
Okay. Just now earlier the question was asked, was it systemic, cultural or both? I said both, right? Okay. This is the problem. Okay. And I agree with YB just now when he said 80%. Of course, there are different surveys, got different figures. Okay, 40 ke, 50 ke now. But it gives you a message that, these are surveys done at the university level. Where are these fellows? They are in the system today. So, maybe we have lost 2 generations, gone. Okay? How to fix it? Two ways. For the longer term, it has to start from home. Okay? Integrity has to start from home, from the school. You have to teach, go back to basics. Many of us, like me, I went through, today is not the forum. Maybe next time if I see you again, I can tell you a little bit of my own story. How I was punished for just stealing 20 cents. Saya curi 20 cents. 6 years old. Kindergarten, I stole 20 cents. Okay? Next time I'll tell you all the stories, what happened. But the kind of punishment I got at 6 years old, until today, it comes into me. Anything that is not yours, my mother had told me, don't touch it. Until today, my mother is still around. She's 80 years old. But I still remember this. And it reminds me even until today. Saya dah hampir umur 60. She always tells me, never lie to me. Tell me the truth. Because I don't know, people at that age, they are sharp. She's having a bit of dementia, but these things she never forgets. When you lie to her or don't tell her the truth, she knows. So that kind of thing is very important from parental point of view. Itu kita kena buat. Tapi yang dalam sistem ini, macam YB just now said, are we creating the problem? Sometimes you talk to the pegawai never say anything. But you, after getting the kelulusan, you go and bagi dia something. So it starts from there. And I just wanted to quickly tell you, of course, this guy who told me this, he got a government contract. Of course, I want him to report. I said, come, let me bring you to MACC report. Dia tak mau. Okay, cerita dia macam ni. This fellow got a government contract. I think 30 million or something. The problem is, nobody disturbs him until he get awarded. Proper way, dia ikut tender, dia menang the project, now it goes. The next step is, the cabaran is after that. After the LOA, letter of award is given, cabaran dia bermula dari situ. Why? For him to execute the project, dia kena jumpa banyak agensi lain, kementerian lain, ini kelulusan sini, kelulusan sana dan sebagainya. Itulah masa dia punya cabaran start, because people will come, not the minister or the deputy minister will come and see him. Ada orang lain will datang and say that kelulusan ni kita dengar macam ni, dia approval ni macam ni lah. For this. So this guy is telling me, I nak buat macam mana? I already got the 30-40 million project. I don't give, you want me to surrender the LOA, I get penalty some more. So what to do? I have to give, so that the project can lancar. So it takes both sides, One side is giving, you talk to the guy, the giver, you say, why you give? The fellow will tell you all this story lah. You ask the other side, they will say, the fellow offer, so how? So that is the problem, to repair this thing as a nation. Don't just think that this is a problem of the federal government or the Prime Minister, his problem. No, it is state problem, our problem. Today, with the power of social media, you and I should leverage on this. When you know a case like this, like just now when this Mr. Thiam's case, I'm here, blood is boiling, How is it that fellow can get a free land and he can make 25 million? Of course, he won't take all the 25 million. Surely some portion has been allocated for political parties or something like that. You see, look at the political funding bill. Until today, we 3-4 governments have passed, and none of them had the political will to push this through. Political funding is one of the biggest challenge our country is facing. Not any party, I'm just saying in general, okay? General elections, state elections, party elections, a lot of money flowing here and there. And we need to fix that. And I hope, YB, I know you are in the opposition, kita minta tolonglah dari Parti Pembangkang to work with the government together to push the political funding bill. We spoke to, as civil society, we have spoken to various parties. Kita dapati, the objection is not only from the ruling government, it's also from the opposition. Dua-dua tak mau bill ni. Why? You know why. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohan. Dr. Mohan, you story just now, I was a bit scared. You said, saya curi. Takut orang rakam nanti. Takut orang rakam nanti soundbite kan. 20 sen. Malaysia kini nanti. Transparency International President curi 20 sen. Didenda oleh ibu. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mohan. I want to open the floor for question and answer. There's a microphone. If anyone wants to ask question, you can. Tapi kalau tak ada soalan, saya akan tanya soalan. Yes, please. The microphone is over there. Identify yourself and then ask your question.
Okay, I hope everybody is waking up now. I prepared something over the weekend. Can I have about 4 minutes, 5 minutes for me to go through?
Is it okay if you do it in 2 minutes maximum?
I've got 10 points here. It's related to the first session.
Okay.
I think it's very, very important that this summit stipulated that to design specifically to intervene with the government and to generate ideas. First and foremost, where's Dr. Maisara? This is a message I need to give to Dr. Maisara, to the state government, that the Perak Sejahtera is very good. What is more important is that it should be shared by every citizen, government and policymaker, including Yang Berhormat Razman. All right? And if you look through, all the way, not sharing is the main issue that stop further development and enhancing development into the state government. I take for example, right? To prosper the state, it should be shouldered by everybody in the state. Not only the government, not only the administrator, but also the citizen. Like I'm today, I come here as a free citizen, right? And to make sure that I was invited here and I pay my dues through what I'm trying to contribute to this summit, which you're going to put forward to the state government. Here that if you look through, where is Dr. Riza here today? If you look through at the state, PK has been used as a yardstick, as an indicator of the health of the state economy. So when he was here, if there was some question asked, he should be able to answer, which is very good. And I'm very glad that he's there today, which is an opportunity for us to, but now I don't know whether there is an opportunity for you to ask questions on state health. That is supposed to be, SCDC became an indicator in the past, since 1967. And then, I hope I'm not hurting anybody.
Sorry,
no?
Sir, sorry. 2 minutes, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, you said 4. I'm counting you. If you can just quickly ask a question. Because we want others to speak.
Right.
Yeah, please.
This is for Dr. Razman Sendiri, yeah? Okay. I understand from the state government there's an agency trying to create an entity to oversee the maintenance of this infrastructure in the state. Why should we have another administrative entity to administer another administrative entity? It should be run by the state secretariat. So, in a way, it is a good point that this thing happened. It shows we are accepting there's a failure at the state level in terms of the state management. And then, if you don't believe, you just look at the road, Jalan Sultan Azlan Shah. Until today, the digging has not been completed. And you see, even the road marking has gone. If you exit from the highway, road marking is gone. So it shows an attitude. So this is the problem with the state. You cannot point from one person to another. It's all of the shoulders, right? You go and have a look at what I was saying.
1 minute.
Okay? And then we are having bureaucratic problem here. I cannot name the two companies, but I would suggest MICCI or FMM to consult me later privately because there are duplications in application of export permit. And then there is people lacking in the expertise knowledge in managing the resources of the state. We must be putting the right people at the right place. That goes to the Sumber Manusia, where is Dr. Whoever he was just now. Yeah, okay. And the other one is the Invest Perak, who's been great. Actually, I was...
15 seconds, eh? Sorry,
okay, this is important.
Please.
Invest Perak should be strengthened, like what it used to be. It should not be, it should be under the Chief Minister as it should be. And you also must know that there is a big hindrance to the development of industry in the state because there's no industrial estate apart from the one that I built when I was in SCDC since 1979. It's all finished. And then the Perak High Tech Park, which was initiated in 2004 until today, has not happened. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very, very interesting points. And actually, exactly 4 minutes. Perak Sejahtera is good. You want to engage the state development body earlier. Question to Wabi Razman is the entity to oversee maintenance. Why is there a new entity? It should have been a state secretariat, but there is a reflection of its failure. Maybe YB can comment later. You also mentioned about, it's very interesting, the export-import issue that you want to engage MICCI privately. I still mention here. Telemanagement, put people where they should be. And finally, Invest Perak should be strengthened as it was before. So very interesting. I'll give you time, but let me just... sorry? Got it. Okay. 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 Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you so much for your points, very specific points. I want to, before we go to question, I want to collect the question, save some time, because actually we are running out of time, 12:55. Any more questions from the floor? Yes. The chairman of MICCI Perak himself.
I just want to rebound a little bit on this. I go back to Ms. Kamala. I think you raised a point which was very important. It's about governance and answer, the time given to reply to answer. The export permit for minerals is exactly this. For months we are dragging. So we may lose here a long-time investor. This is about governance. And I think if we want to maintain a good investment climate, it's not so much about facility structure, it's also to retain, and this is part of it. That's the soft aspect. And I would like to know, all of you, what can you do? Because frankly speaking, I'm a little bit stuck here also with Invest Perak. To raise this issue, we don't know what to do. Should I bring the ambassador of Belgium to the Menteri Bazaar? This is absurd here. In a normal country, in a normal environment, we deal at factual level. So I think this is really something I would like to hear from you. I have one comment on Dr. Mohan. When I travel a lot with overseas. When I read news about Malaysia, usually it's about political and scandals, I'm sorry to say. So, in my country, in Germany, I'm German, half French, half German. If somebody does something wrong in a government, he has to resign. So, in my company, if I would do something wrong, before I get kicked out, I also have to resign. So, what is the standing here? The parent can do a job, but we need to accept that today the world is open. So, management by example is the things here. So, I would like to hear from you.
Sure, thank you so much, Jean-François. You mentioned it's not about infrastructure, it's about good governance. You asked the panelists also, what specifically can we do? Maybe I'll address it to Dr. Jeyakumar if you don't mind. I think he also have specific recommendations. I'll ask, but maybe you just get one more, then we can fill up all panels can answer one go. Dr. Mohan's question was, which I think you agree with him, you're same page, but maybe you're commenting on corporate good governance, right? In some regard, if I do something wrong, I should be resigned. Maybe your take on that. One more question, and then we will yes sir, and then we'll get all panelists to answer, please. Identify yourself as well, yeah? Your name and your organization.
Very good afternoon. My name is Ganesan Velu. So, in 1994, I came to Perak just because I love the mountains and the hills in Perak. And I understand recently there was a program was arranged that more than 400 million years of hills, especially the calcium carbonate hills, has been bringing, all the investors coming down just to take the growth of the calcium carbonate. So, what is the direction where the Perak governors are going towards clearing up all the beautiful hills in Perak?
Issue of hills, clearing of hills. Bukit-bukit dekat Perak dibotakkan. Pandangan-pandangan panelis. Ini I think two of you, maybe Ms. Kamala also can comment on the issue of this is a major environmental issue. And I think it's true. We can see also from the hills, the botak. But what we do is, if you don't mind, I'll structure this because timing point issue. Two questions I think for YB Razman dengan Dr. Jeyakumar is actually Perak issue. Tadi yang isu institution kan, kenapa macam merbah kan, kenapa agensi yang baru untuk perkara yang boleh dihandle oleh Secretariat. Dr. Jeyakumar, I think there was a question on specific, maybe one or two specific recommendation for businesses like him to deal with state government. Why is it, it's so difficult to deal with state government? Dr. Mohan, I think your question is more on, same gentleman, on good corporate governance, your take on that. Maybe Ms. Kamala, maybe you can take on the question on, or similar question about conservation, and that was interesting. I think you want to take a jab on that. The hills conservation. So all four are the question, and then maybe if you want also, you can wrap up lah your segment, and then kita tutup lah. Okay? Maybe kita start dengan Puan Kamala, dan kita end dengan YB lah. Okay?
Thank you. Perak, ever famous for its evergreen limestones and beautiful beaches and all. It's disheartening to know that once Malaysia was known for its beautiful natural resources, and now we are in the limelight for all the wrong reasons, it seems. In terms of environment and law, even the Bar Council has got an environment law committee, subcommittee, which is looking at all these issues of limestones and generally all over in the peninsular Malaysia. The issue of limestones being destroyed, in particular in Perak, I am not very well versed in this area, but I do believe if there's anything that is contravening any particular provision of the state government, the laws pertaining to this, then this is a matter that can be brought up to the relevant department, obviously, and if need be, again, public interest litigation comes into play. So I will say that. But overall, if I can just recap from today's second session, the legal fraternity relationship with the government, whether it be at the federal level or at the state level, has always been cordial, and it's been we've always been willing to work hand in hand. Be that as it may, with the change in the political climate in the past 2 years, the legal fraternity has had its share of obstacles as well to deal with. We try as much as we can to address or to help our citizens to overcome whatever difficulties that we have. But we too are also having to knock our bodies against doors which seem to be perpetually closed to us for some reason or another. Like I would like to stress again, we are not against any government policy in general, but we would like to be consulted. I hope in time to come this is heard across the board. We would like to be considered and we would like to be heard. So, because we are not just speaking on behalf of the interests of the legal profession, we are talking on behalf of the private citizens and all other interested parties as stakeholders as well. So I believe that this summit has given a platform for us to voice out. This is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that Perak Bar Committee has been given an invitation to attend a summit of this stature. Thank you once again for all your feedback and for your encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mohan, yeah, please.
Okay, I would like to address straight away that question was asked by the president of MICCI. Okay, the question, he says that in his country where he comes from, Germany or even within EU, when someone makes a mistake or someone is seriously caught in a major misconduct, first thing he resigns, and if there is a criminal offense, the law will take its own course. Okay? Now here, I'm sorry, I feel as a Malaysian, when he asks that question, as a Malaysian, I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed that we are always known for issues of scandals and things like that. Now, where do we go from here? We have to go back to basic. And that's why I point to I'm not trying to blame you or anything, no. I just want you as Malaysians to ask a question yourself. While we say that the government must do this, enforcement agency must do that, lawmakers must do this, and what about us? We don't go to parliament. We have representatives in the state assembly and so on. That's why we pick them up. But I think we have to voice out to them. Today the channels are wider. You have a wider space for speaking up. So I think as Malaysians we have to do our part. You know, if you see wrongdoings, you have to speak up. If no action is taken, keep on asking. Civil society will do its part. But I think as citizens you have to do their part. And talking about this issue of transparency, this is still a problem I see, whether it's at the state level or even at federal level. When you want to implement, echoing Kamala's point, discuss. You need to engage with the stakeholders. Yeah, I know sometimes these things will take time, but let's talk. Of course, when it comes to development, there will always be two sides of the coin. This group don't want development, this group wants development. But finally we make a good decision, what is best for the majority of the people, and so on. But in that process, good governance has to play its part. Do it everything above board. Do it in a proper way and so on. And any misconduct, report. Okay? So last but not least, in closing, I would just like to appeal to all Malaysians. You have a responsibility. Don't just throw to the lawmakers alone. We have our own responsibility. We are the one who choose them. So if the guy is not performing, you know what to do next. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jeyakumar?
I think it'll be wrong to pretend this problem can be solved easily, I think 30, 40 years of a certain kind of way of doing things, I think corruption is quite embedded in the system. And we need to look at making multiple changes to institutions. See, for example, I talked about TIAM. Actually, I reported TIAM and Maju Bina to SPRM. Personally, when I gave them all the documents. It's more than a year now. It's quiet. The problem is you cannot have SPRM underneath the Prime Minister's control. It's got to be taken away. It's got to be independent. So you've got to think of an institutional way of doing it. Right now, SPRM will work on people who are on the wrong side of the political divide. You go to Bersatu. But if UMNO guy does the same thing, you won't go after him now because you can't afford to offend. So you should take SPRM out of politics. It should be independent under the parliament or something. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So that's one. The second thing is we need, for example, the opacity in giving out land. There's something in the land code under 214A. It sets up an estate land board. So any estate is sold, subdivided, the estate land board must make sure that the workers are protected. We can create a 214B that agricultural land producing food, if that is going to be given to someone else, alienated for some other purpose, that this agricultural land board has a say in it. Are the farmers given something else? Where's the land going for? What's being used for? We can create that. We need to create this structure to oversee what the Menteri Besar is doing. So we need structures. You can't just go on goodwill, CSR, goodwill. No, we need structures as well. And the third thing is, we got to recognize that a lot of corruption in this country is coming from the political process. Because politicians need money. So I think we need to have a way in which we provide public money to political parties in a fair way and tell them stop taking money from corporations, stop trying to get kickbacks. But you got to give politicians a public funding. So I think we've got to think of a way which is fair to all parties, government and, but a fair way in which we put some of public money into political parties and say, this is what you do, but you can't collect more than this from corporations. So you've got to think of these things, and you've got to keep talking about these kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jeyakumar. Maybe I just want to add, maybe PSL should teach parties how to do campaigning. Maybe you guys can do low-cost, high-impact campaigning. Maybe do something. YB, last word from you. Silakan, YB.
Okay, first thing, I can answer your question because I can answer on behalf of government. Actually, by right, we know it happened recently, even though the contract awarded, and then sometimes you take in power, you said that because you revoke back, and then you award to someone else. It has happened in the government. When we say the position they take is a privilege, it's not the responsible. This is serious. It happened in our country. The second thing is I'm worried now. Actually, people come to invest here. Of course, they want to protect their money. Judiciary is the part of the way to protect. If this judiciary system also, people question, I think they're very serious about what happened in our country. This is our responsibility for us to control also this kind of thing. So that is all I want to see that I think this is a very important like this I want to share, and I'm still in position. If you have anything that you submit to us, we can bring in the Dewan. I think when we speak in the Dewan, there's more action than with PKR. And so that's thank you very much. Thank you for involving me in this program. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, YB Razman. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeyakumar, Dr. Mohan, and Miss Kamala. Very insightful. Panas. I'm sweating also. Lapar juga. And we are right at lunchtime, but I will pass the floor back to Tuan Pengurusi Majlis. But I think we have a group picture. MC, maybe you want to help me guide? Okay, yes. We have a group picture, and then I'll pass it back to MC.